topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This show, this expert stands out among all of our experts. We've got about 40 experts that we do every month. We started off with one show in Tampa, Florida, and it's grown to something I don't do with anybody. We've grown to 2 shows a month, and we're covering all Florida because what this expert has, Ray Ferrara, with Provise Management Group, has to say is so important. And it's just amazing how he won't say this, but I will. He's always so right on. Let me introduce you to our greatest expert, Ray Ferrara.
Wow.
How about that?
That's quite a way to start a Monday morning.
Right from the heart.
I appreciate that very much, Steve.
Well, listen, Ray, I think you're hurting maybe a little bit because of the Buccaneers.
Well, unfortunately, they did lose. The good news for me is that having grown up in the Washington, D.C. area with the Washington Redskins, I did come out of it with another team to root for, the Commanders.
Yes.
But unfortunately, they managed to lose over the weekend, or they managed to just whomp Detroit over the weekend, fortunately. And
yes.
Now we're going to see whether they can play with the big boys, and it's going to be a Philadelphia-Washington corridor football game next Sunday.
What a game that's going to be!
Indeed,
what a game!
Yeah,
and today is a very special day, Ray.
It is indeed. It's both memory of Martin Luther King today, a national holiday. And then on top of that, it's inauguration day for President-elect Trump as the 47th president after being the 45th. And the only other time that that's happened in history, you got to go back to the turn of the 18th to the 19th century with Grover Cleveland. So a very momentous day for 2 reasons.
So apropos that your show is today. Well, President-elect Trump becomes the 47th president. Like you said, where do we go from here, Ray?
Well, this morning, several interesting developments already.
Yes.
We had President Biden in the last few hours of his presidency pardon a whole list of people that he was concerned that President Trump might go after. Like Fauci and Cheney and Milky. So a very interesting development, and particularly since they'll be spending a lot of time together today. But I hope, Steve, that President-elect Trump, once he becomes president, will be so committed to the things he promised the American voters during the campaign that some of these petty concerns that people were worried about the president-elect having just disappear. He knows the job. He's done it for 4 years. He was there for, all of that time, 1,400 days, something like that, I guess. So I expect him to hit the ground running. I'm not telling any secrets when I say he's going to sign more executive orders and resolutions than any incoming president ever has.
Yes.
He said that himself. I think he will clearly try to make a big show with deportations, particularly of illegal aliens that are in this country that have committed crimes, and particularly felonies. I would not be surprised if he doesn't use the power of the pardon himself, if not today or tomorrow, very soon, to pardon many of the people who were convicted in the January 6th riots back in 2020. And hopefully he will not pardon those that actually attacked people rather than just breaking into the Capitol the way that all unfolded. But I think he will hit the ground running hard. I think it'll be a big whirlwind. He's got a lot to do in the next 2 years. And why just the next 2 years? Because he does have a Congress that is all Republican controlled, but they're very narrow margins. He's got to keep that group together because all of those women and men have their own thoughts about things. And although will be led by him does not mean that they will walk down the primrose path with him. So he's going to have to cater to some of their demands in the process. And we're going to see a lot. And that's part of what's going on in the markets right now is a lot of uncertainty. Just exactly what is he going to do? Are we going to have the tariffs that he's talked about? I suspect we'll know by midnight tomorrow what he's going to do with Canada, Mexico, China, and perhaps others. So it's a hold on to your seats because we're gonna take off flying after the inauguration today.
Yeah. So, Ray, we have 3 listeners who love your show who actually aren't able to listen at 9 o'clock. And what they do is they go to iHeart and pull your shows up. And they all 3, this is strange, they all had 3 had basically the same question because people really do trust you, Ray. And it was about TikTok. And they said Trump made a statement last night that maybe China would keep 50% of it and the United States would have the other 50%. Now, the numbers they're making are not small numbers. I mean, they're in the billions. What do you think he meant by that?
Well, the law that was to make TikTok go dark was upheld last week by the Supreme Court.
Right.
It did go dark for a few brief moments Saturday night at midnight, Sunday morning at midnight, however you want to look at it. The president elect said that he would give it another 90 days for them to find a buyer, an American buyer. Okay. I don't think that America itself will own 50% of TikTok. Okay. That just doesn't seem like what the government does or should be doing. Perhaps there are American individuals that can put together a company to buy half of it. But I don't think that solves the basic problem of the concern around national security. And so I think it's going to be a little more complicated than just some kind of a 50-50 deal, or I heard this morning an 85-15 deal. We're going to have to see how that. that people are going to continue to have TikTok for the next 90 days, and then we will see what happens from we'll see what happens from there.
People also want to know, Ray, what are your feelings? What do you think is going to happen? Mortgage rates. Do you think they'll get below 6%?
Will they get below 6%? Yes. When is, of course, the big question. It's kind of amazing, Steve, that when the Federal Reserve started cutting interest rates in the fall, on the short end,
I believe you're cutting out.
In fact, long-term rates have actually gone up. Long-term rates are actually up, and as all mortgage rates have gone up to be somewhere on the 10-year Treasury, about 4.25%, maybe closer to 4 at 4.1 or 4.2%. And at that point, they'll get below 6% or right at 6%. Our thinking is that probably is not going to happen until late this year. The economy is humming along well even with interest rates where they are today. And so it's highly unlikely to us that we're going to see 6% on mortgage rates anytime before the fall of this year. And it may not even be then, depending upon what happens with the perception around inflation. And again, it was one of those uncertainties that we were talking about with the new president coming in, because if he does institute some of his policies, there is speculation that will add to the inflation problem, not help solve the inflation problem.
Ray, how do you, on the Treasury side, on Trump's picks, any feelings about them?
You know, for the most part, I think that the president has chosen rather outstanding people. And specifically, as it comes to his economic advisors and to the Treasury Department, I think he's surrounding himself with some very smart people and folks that are very interested in helping him fulfill his promise to get the economy moving again. Although our GDP is good in the 2.5% to 3% range, they'd like to see it get kickstarted into the 3.5% to 4% range. So I'm excited about the changes that are occurring, and the things that they'll be able to tackle. We can expect that the incoming Secretary of the Treasury said he supported the tax cuts that the president was elect is proposing. So that kind of a push, I think, is going to give us the kickstart that the president-elect has promised once he becomes president. You know, it's so hard, Steve, for me keep saying president-elect Trump.
I know.
When it's just a few hours that he's
I
going
know.
to be. You know,
Next show. Next show, you won't have that problem.
No, not at all.
How about, Ray, please explain the concept of a bond or CD ladder?
So, Stephen, the concept there is to ease your way into higher interest rates and ease your way out as interest rates are going down. So a typical CD or bond, let me do a CD first. A typical CD ladder over a 2-year period of time. When I started, I would buy a CD for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and 24 months. As each of the CDs come due every 6 months, I would renew them for 24 months, because the longer you have a CD, the higher the interest rate you're generally going to get. So if I started today with that ladder at 6, 12, 18, 24 months, and the 6 month comes due, I'll buy a 2-year. So then I have a 2-year CD every 6 months coming due. So if interest rates are going up, I'm continuing to buy into that higher interest rate, rather than having to wait for all of my CD money to come due when may or may not be a good time to get out. Conversely, if interest rates are going down, then you every 6 months, you're only renewing 25% of your portfolio. So you're not subjecting your entire CD portfolio to all of those downward interest rates and get locked in at low interest rates. So it's designed to let you buy in as interest rates are going out, and it allows you to sell out only a little bit as interest rates are going down. When it comes to bonds, it's exactly the same thing. The only difference is that with bonds, you probably want to stretch it a little bit more, and probably look to buy bonds for 1, 3, 5, and 7 years. And then every 2 years, you will come up with a renewal and do the same thing, rather than every 6 months. Typically with bonds, you'll do it for 1 year out, 3 years out, 5 years out, 7 years out, and then you're constantly renewing those. So again, it allows you to go in to get higher interest rates when they're going up, and keeps you from subjecting your entire portfolio to lower interest rates on the way down.
You know, the biggest question I'm sure you get all the time, and I keep getting the commercial confused, but I always compare you. Is it E.F. Hutton? Is that commercial?
Steve, you're aging, both me and you. But yes, it was the commercial. The commercial was when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen.
Yeah, people would stop whatever they're doing. You're my E.F. Hutton. How do you know when to sell an investment, Ray?
You know, Steve, when we buy things, we do a lot of analytical work, as you know, whether you're managing your own portfolio or whether you're have hired us to help you with the $2 billion that we're managing at the moment. And so you do a lot of research on the front end, and there's also, particularly on an individual level, some emotion that's attached to buying that stock. And I'm going to just limit it to stocks at the moment, although the principle I'm about to discuss relates to any investment that someone makes. And so determining when to buy is a lot easier than determining when to sell for most people. Buy a share of stock at 10 and it goes to 15. People may say, well, when it gets to 20, I'm going to sell it. And that's not necessarily a logical decision. So the easy way I like to explain to people is the time to sell is when you're no longer willing to buy at that price. And again, let's take that $10 stock and it goes to 15. And that person said, well, I'm going to hold it until I get to 20. The question I would ask that person is, would you buy more at $15 a share? And if the answer is yes, fine. Then either buy more or hold until you think it's going to get to 20. But if the answer is no, I'm not going to buy more at 15, it's too high. Well, that's telling you don't see enough future value in that investment to commit new capital towards it. And so that becomes a bright line for us, and I recommend to others that when you get to that point when you say, well, I wouldn't buy any more of that, it's too high. Well, that means it's time to sell. Conversely, if that stock goes from $10 a share down to $5, because we all have an aversion to say that we lost money, and a lot of people will say, well, as soon as this dog gets back to $10 a share, I'm going to get rid of it. The real question again is, would you buy more of it at $5 a share?
Right.
Were you right and the market's wrong in your opinion? And if you say, well, no, I mean, it's cut in half. I don't think there's value there. Well, what you're saying is, again, you won't buy more at $5 a share, so sell it. First thing that happens is you get a capital loss, which you can then use to offset capital gains. The second thing you can do is take the $5 you have left over and find another investment in which you have a good conviction, and you'll get that $5 back to 10 faster than holding on to the dog. So the simple vanilla way of looking at it is the time to sell is when you're no longer willing to buy.
Makes perfect sense. And finally, Scott in Temple Terrace says, I have a lot of money tied up in the stock of the company I used to work for, and it has appreciated a lot. I don't want to own it, but I will get hit with taxes. What do I do?
Well, let's go back to our previous question. The first thing is forgetting how much you own today. Would you buy more of it at the same price? And if the answer to that is no, then what you're again saying is that the future value doesn't make a lot of sense. So the second thing to look at is what percent of it is in your portfolio. If it's less than 5%, you still like the company, the stock, probably go ahead and keep it. If it's more than 5%, then what you should do is dollar cost average your way out. Let's suppose that you own 2,400 shares and you only want to own half of those. I would tell you to sell 100 shares a month for the next 12 months and average your way out of the stock. Don't sell all 1,200. Yes, I know you're going to have to end up paying taxes, capital gains taxes on the money, and nobody likes to pay taxes. But the good news is you made money. So, I say to all of our clients, don't fault me for you having to pay taxes. That means we made money on the investment.
Exactly.
And Stephen, before we go, I just want to remind everybody that if they would like to visit with us, we always offer a 1-hour free consultation in our Tampa or Clearwater office or by Zoom. We have people in 30 states around the U.S. So those that might be listening to it far and askance from Clearwater, Tampa, Florida, no reason not to call. And all you have to do is reach out to us at the numbers you see below at 800-633-3049, 800-633-3049.
And you have a website too, don't you?
We do. If you want to learn more about us before calling, simply go to provise.com, and that's PROVISE.com, provise.com.
Ray, we love your show. Ray's with us every 2 weeks. So not next week, but the week after at 9 o'clock on Monday. Ray will be back with us. Ray, thank you so much for all you do for this show. And I will talk to you in 2 weeks.
Look forward to it. And let's enjoy celebrating both the day to remember Martin Luther King and the inauguration of the 47th president of the United States.
Absolutely. That's Ray Ferraro at Provise Management Group. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.